Our speaker is a doctor. He's also the CEO of his own business called MDR Prep. MDR Prep prepares students for medical school. He helps them pass the test to get into medical school. Now that's a big deal. That's a great work he's doing because it's hard to pass that test, and it helps our students of color become physicians. He also likes to play golf. He has been the president of the Black Police Officers Association and Students National Medical Association in Houston, Texas. And he'll probably give you a little bit of his story. He was homeless at one time. But anyway, we have his beautiful wife, Elaine, with us today, and his mother. So let's give a good welcome from Lake Jackson, Texas, to Dr. Anthony Sutton.
Hello, hello. Can everybody hear me okay? Well, you all look good today. Wow, wow, wow. So I'm excited to be back. It doesn't seem like a year, but it's been a year already. So today what we're going to do is we're going to have a good time. Is everybody okay with that? All right, we're going to do something like the young folks say. We're going to turn up. Look at it. See, some of y'all looking at me like, what did he just say? Don't feel bad. I felt the same way until my daughter told me what it meant. I said, what in the world are you talking about? She said, Daddy, you don't know what turn up mean? I said, no, I thought you was talking about some greens or something, you know? That's exactly what I was thinking about, right? She said, no, turn up basically is, when you're having a good time, you're partying and things like that. She said, Daddy, that's turn up. I said, oh, okay. Why you didn't just say, let's just have a good time, right? So I grew up in Houston in 3rd Ward, and my dad had a 9th grade education, but he was one of the wisest men that I knew. Now, he would say things to us at times that kind of baffled me. He'd say it, and I'd say, what did he just say? He'd always say, son, don't ever quit something until you finish it. And I said, wow, that means I can't quit. I get it, okay. What can make you laugh can make you. Oh, y'all heard that before too, right? But he also told me something. He said, listen, don't ever talk just to be talking. Talk when you have something to say. So I said, okay, no problem. So guess what, Lake Jackson? I got something to say today. So we're going to talk today. And I want to talk to you today about cars. Yeah, I know what you're saying, vehicles. Not just any cars, but my cars that have shaped my life. My very first car was a 1979 Thunderbird. Oh my goodness, it was clean. That was one of the cleanest cars I ever had. I saved all my hard-earned money working at Astroworld. And I paid $750 for this car. Now, this is when they built real cars. Y'all follow where I'm coming from? This is the kind of car that could run into a tree and don't feel sorry for the car, feel sorry for the tree. I used to always say if this car could talk, that car would probably be saying, rock steady. Everybody follow where I'm coming from? That's what that car. Yeah, I see somebody ready to turn up already. I see y'all bouncing. That was my Rocksteady car. Now, that Rocksteady car was a great car, but it did have one mechanical issue. It had no power steering. Now, I don't know if you've ever had a car without power steering, but that's a whole lot of trouble. It's really hard to control a car without that power steering. Everybody follow where I'm coming from? But I was so excited about that car, and I remember my girlfriend called me at the time, and she said, hey, I heard you got a car. I said, yeah, baby, I got a car. She said, well, why don't you come by and pick me up? I said, no problem. She lived across town. So I'm driving across town with no power steering, and every right turn and every left turn is a struggle. By the time I got to our house, I was wore out. She said, well, where are we going to go? I said, we're not going nowhere. We're going to sit right here in this driveway till I can catch my breath. Everybody follow me? So that was my first car, that Thunderbird. Now, during this same time when I had this Thunderbird, that was probably one of the most exciting times of my life. But it also was a time that I'd never forget. That was a time that I actually was homeless during the same period of time. And I remember one night when I was standing behind this elementary school, and I was sleeping behind this abandoned school, and it started to rain. Now, during the day when it was sunny and everything, it's not a problem. But it's a different element when you're homeless and it's raining. Everybody follow where I'm coming from? And so while I'm back there, I'm sitting there and it starts to rain and the wind starts to blow. And all of a sudden I started to hear this thunder roar. And I'm starting to say, wow. And I asked the Lord, why? And before I could say why again, I saw a little bird sitting on a rock. And I saw that bird sitting on that rock. And it looked like it was unfazed by the wind, unfazed by the thunder, unfazed by the rain. And at that point I realized, you know what that bird said? I can't control the rain. I can't control the thunder or the wind. All I can control is myself. And so I started to look at that thunderbird. Y'all follow where I'm coming from? I said that thunderbird represented what I wanted to do, is take control of my own life and stop worrying about trying to control everybody else. Does everybody follow where I'm coming from? So that was my first car, my 1979 Thunderbird. And I said to myself that night, I said, you know what, it's not going to rain forever. And guess what? It didn't. It didn't rain forever. It stopped raining. I actually went to college, and I was so happy when I got to college because I was able to buy my next car, $500 cash. It was a Dodge Colt. Now, the name might fool you because it was a Dodge Colt, which is supposed to be fast, but it could only go 60 miles an hour. If you go past 60 miles an hour, it starts shaking and it'll shut off on you. Now, I bought this Dodge Colt for $500. I didn't even pay my dorm room that semester. I didn't have a meal plan in college that semester, but I had a car. So my roommate at the time, he told me, he said, listen, they're going to replace you because you didn't pay your dorm fees. I said, yeah, I get that. He said, man, what you going to do? I said, I don't know. So at the deadline, they hadn't found a replacement for me. And my roommate, who is now my daughter's godfather, said, listen, we can't give you a key because they won't make a duplicate, but I'll leave a door open for you. So that way you can still go in your old room. Boy, isn't that a blessing right there? So I said, oh, man, I appreciate it. So that solved the problem of me having a place to stay. But it did not solve the problem of what I was going to eat, right? So I said, I got to find me a place. So I decided, why not find a job that serves food? So I ended up going to work at Popeyes. And I got into Popeyes Chicken. Boy, I tell you, I was one of the hardest working employees at Popeyes Chicken. I worked 7 days a week. And at the end of the night, every night, they would always say, guess what? If you need, anything that we have left over, we can throw it out or you can take it home. So I said, no problem. I know where this is going. It's going home with me. But I became creative. At the end of the night, about 30 minutes before closing, I'd always drop a big old thing of chicken. Just in case some people came in at the last minute. I knew we were going to have some left. Y'all follow where I'm coming from? So I would take that food home to my dorm, to my roommates, and I'd be covered in flour, but we ate real good. Well, every single weekend, my joy came from going home to see my mom and dad. And the reason why, they thought, oh, boy, he's homesick. No, I was just hungry. So when you're coming from, I was at Lamar University. When you're going from Lamar University all the way back to Houston, Texas, right, from Beaumont to Houston, you had to go over the ship channel. And you remember this car only went 60 miles an hour. Now, if you were going to go over that ship channel, I had to get it up to at least 70 before I hit the ship channel. Because if I didn't, we were going to have a problem. Normally, I was doing just fine. This one day, I was just jamming, listening to the music. And the next thing you know, I got to the ship channel and forgot to hit 70. Oh, yeah. So I hit that ship channel at 55. I get halfway up the ship channel, and that thing shuts off on me. Now, guess what? 18-wheelers coming behind me. Cars are flying by me. And I'm in this middle lane. I'm thinking, Lord, what do? I need to get over. I need to do something. But the Lord has said, no, you just stay in your lane. So I stayed right there in my lane. I was like praying, Lord, help me over this hill, right? And it was almost like the Lord was getting behind my car, just pushing it. Y'all ever follow where I'm coming from? And all of a sudden, the car just started up, and I get over that hill. And I get over that hill, and I'm saying, thank you, Jesus. Anybody ever had to say that before? I said, thank you, Jesus. So I'm over that hill, and I made it back, right? Now, when I'm getting over that, let me tell you something. One of the things that I understood was, as soon as I got over that I had to give blessings. Now, when I was going up that hill, I was afraid, right? I was going up that hill, and you know what I was saying? Yeah, I know that. But when I got over that hill, I was saying something like, nothing but the name of Jesus. Nothing but the name of Jesus. So that Dodge coat taught me a very, very good lesson. It taught me a lesson about staying in my lane. Everybody follow? And it taught me a lesson about you don't get over these hills by yourself. So I was happy about that. So I'm excited now. So now I went from my that was a 1985 Dodge coat, to my 1999 Mercury Mystique. Oh, that was my car right there. Oh, when you talk about a car, they called it a Mystique, but I really should have called it my Mercury Mystery, because I never knew whether it was going to start or not. It had one issue. It had a starter problem. It never wanted to start. But when it did start, oh, that was a good running car. So one day I'm driving, and I get a call, and this was in 1999. We had a Hurricane Brett. I don't know if anybody remember that, but it was a pretty bad hurricane. And my girlfriend at the time called me and said, hey, listen, water is starting to come in my house. Can you come get me? Now, I was living in the medical center, and she was living over by Brays Bayou. So I said, okay, no problem. I got in my low-ride Mercury Mystique, and I'm driving over there to where she's at. And as I'm driving, I'm coming up, and I can see the water starting to rise. And what started to get really scary is when I couldn't tell the street from the bayou. And I'm driving, and all of a sudden, I'm starting to see water on my floorboard of my car. And when I'm seeing that water, you know what I'm thinking? Oh, yeah, I know where I'm going with that. There's a leak. Y'all feel where I'm coming from? So I got to move. There's a leak in this old building. So I got out of that car, and all of a sudden, when I got out of that car, that water started to rise and rise, and I started to look at my car, and my car started doing this. And you know what it was saying? That car was just floating on. So I was saying to myself, Lord, here go that question again. Why? So I was able to swim over to my girlfriend's house. Now keep in mind, this is the same girlfriend, maybe a month later, told me I was crazy for thinking about going to medical school. She told me I was wasting my time. She said, why? She said, you've already applied and they've turned you down and they keep turning you down. Why do you keep applying to medical school? She said, do you not know the definition of insanity? I said, no, but I'm sure you're about to tell me. She said, well, basically you doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. I said, well, if that's the definition of insanity, then what's the definition of persistence? I didn't understand. What's the difference? She didn't know either. That was my 1999 Mercury Mystique. You know, I learned a lesson from that Mystique. One of the things it told me was that don't let your talents go to waste. Yeah, it had a starter issue, and a lot of people got starter issues. But whenever you get that thing running, you're going to find out some good results. So I said, okay, I got a good lesson. Don't ever let my talents go to waste. Well, things are going well now. Brings me to my fourth car. Oh, this is my baby right here. It was a Ford Focus, 2005. One of my smallest cars, but you know, small things sometimes come in big packages, right? And one thing about that Ford Focus that I really loved about that Ford Focus, it came when I was getting ready to graduate from medical school. And when I was getting ready to graduate from medical school, I had one semester left, but I didn't have enough money to graduate. That means I've gone through all these years of medical school, and I would not get an MD because I didn't have the money. And then somebody told me something that was really empowering. Never give up. And I said, okay, I get it. But something, you know, about that Ford Focus, it had a mechanical issue. the mechanical issue with that was the windshield wipers work sometimes. So I realized something about that Ford Focus, that because they work sometimes, that means I really had to focus real close on what I was looking at. You know, Henry Ford says something that was really unique. He says, obstacles are those frightful things we see when we take our eyes off our goals. I said, that makes a lot of sense. So that focus made me understand what faith was. So I said focus because it was a small car. But somebody told me that a mustard seed is pretty small too. So I said, okay, no problem. If I have faith of a what? Oh, I'll be okay. Well, guess what, y'all? I graduated from medical school. So evidently that focus worked. That was my next thing, that Ford Focus. But I tell you what, I graduated. And when I graduated from medical school, I was having a good time. Oh, yeah. I wasn't married at the time. I'm married now, thank goodness. But I wasn't married at the time, and I was doing everything I wanted. I had money in my pocket. I was traveling the world. I was having so much fun, but I had no direction. So the Lord said, I got something for you. I'm going to give you a Ford Pathfinder because you need to find your way. So one day I'm at this, one of my fraternity brothers his mother had her repast. And I'm there, and at this time I'm saying I'd never get married. I'm happy just the way I am. And all of a sudden in the corner I see this figure over here to the right. And I said, well, you know, I'm going to go ahead and slide over there and just say hello, you know. And I say, hey, how you doing? My name is Anthony Sutton, you know. And like she's supposed to know my name, I said, my name is Anthony Sutton. Would you like a drink? She said, no, I only drink between the hours of 5 and 7. So I walked away, not knowing that it was 6:30. I thought she shot me down. So guess what? I left, and I didn't see her for a whole year. And then one day, I talked to a buddy of mine. He said, hey, man, you know that she goes to my church. He said, why don't you come by? I said, well, that's a good reason to go to church, right? So I go to church, and I didn't see her. So I decided to call her up. And the next thing you know, when I got this Pathfinder, everything started coming to light for me. All these cars that had been in my life started to make a lot of sense. When I had the Thunderbird, it made sense because that Thunderbird taught me that there are certain things in life I just can't control other than myself, right? When I got that Dodge Colt told me, listen, you didn't get here by yourself. Always stay in your lane and understand that there's somebody else that can help you, right? When I got my Mercury Mystique, it said, look, don't ever let my talents go to waste, right? But if you remember, every single one of them cars had mechanical issues, right? But this Pathfinder I bought brand new, right? It ran just fine. And when I bought this Pathfinder and I seen my wife in that corner, you know what I was thinking? Y'all know the song. I don't know why it's breaking up on me. Oh, y'all know what I'm talking about. Some of y'all saying he a mess. I know I am. I'm sorry. So I bought that Pathfinder, and it did just what I wanted to do, help me find my path. And not only did that Pathfinder help me find my path, but it allowed me to create a company to help black students find their path to medical school. So I said, the Lord had a reason for putting all them cars in my life. But I tell you what, though, the best car, the most reliable car that I've ever had was a 1968 AMS. I know what you said. She said, what's that? That's it right there. 1968 AMS, Anthony Maurice Sutton. Now, this was a very durable car, but it had some pressure problems, blood pressure problems. And one day I said, you know what? I need to take this car in because this is a problem. I can't let it keep going like this. And so last year, this was my photo here last year, 50 pounds ago. I went to a doctor, a friend of mine called Dr. Baxter Montgomery. And I told Dr. Montgomery, I said, listen, I've been on blood pressure medication for 10 years. And I said, I really don't want to be on it because I know that it can have long-term effects on my kidneys. And I really don't want to be on it. He said, well, if you don't want to be on it, I'll tell you how you can get off of it. He said, but you're going to have to do something. I said, what? He said, you're going to have to go on a 28-day detox. I said, what's that? He said, you're going to have to eat raw food for 28 days. I said, okay, what kind of meat can I have with that raw food? He said, no, you didn't understand what I said. I said, raw food, no meat, 28 days. And then we're going to put you on the maintenance. Now, I haven't seen blood pressure medication in over a year. Haven't taken blood pressure medication over a year. I checked my blood pressure readings this morning. It was 126 over 73. No medication. So what I learned right there, all of this, what this taught me, was that everything in life, everything happens for a reason. The Ford Thunderbird was a reason. The Dodge Colt was a reason. The Mercury Mystique was a reason. My Nissan Pathfinder was a reason. And you know what the reason was? It taught me was that really all of those things were just a tune-up before my turn-up. Everybody follow where I'm coming from? Anybody ever had to have a tune-up before the turn-up? See, a lot of times we want to turn up before the tune-up. And I always look at LeBron James. Y'all know who LeBron is, right? He used to put this powder on his hand, right? And right after he puts the powder on the hand, does anybody know what he does when he puts that powder on his hands? He does this as to show everybody, I'm about to turn up. It's about to go down. So guess what? Right now, if you can think about any time in your life, I don't care what it is, where you've had to have a tune-up. Anybody follow me? Now it's time for your what? That's right, exactly. You've had the tune-up, but now it's time for the turn-up.